In 2008, Barack Obama became the first African-American to be elected President of the United States. This was lauded as a turning point, of course, for America's despondent black community after a lifetime of presidential campaigns with only the wealthy white candidate to represent them. Now, a play has been produced which follows an African-American college graduate working on the Obama presidential campaign. However, between knocking on doors and fending off police, he also uncovers more about the troubled streets of East Cleveland and about his own racial and sexual identity. Well, joining me now is Pearl Mackie, who stars in this new play, which is called Obama-ology. Pearl, thanks very much indeed for coming in.
No problem, thanks for having me.
So we talked a little bit about what the plot is there. Who do you play and what's your role in it?
Well, one of the main characters that I play is a character called Cece, who is a resident of East Cleveland. She's lived there her whole life. And essentially, she's not very well educated. So the character Warren, who's the college graduate who gets placed in East Cleveland, knocks on her door, and you know, she's one of the first volunteers that he actually gets from the neighborhood. And essentially through their kind of friendship, their sort of unlikely friendship, you know, he's obviously, you know, college educated, very, very intelligent guy, but sort of lacking in kind of any emotional intelligence and sort of any way to sort of engage with his own kind of people, really. Right. And sort of through their friendship, you know, they kind of challenge each other to leave behind stereotypes and sort of, yeah, just sort of learn more about the person behind the stat or the number, as it were.
Now, you say that's one of the characters you play, because unusually you play two in this play.
I do, yeah, I do. Another one is also a volunteer, very different from Cece, who's quite, you know, quite reserved, sort of, you know, quite downtrodden. This character's from Paterson, New Jersey, so she's quite brash, you know, and she sort of comes on the campaign trail a little bit later on. Because of something terrible that's happened to her brother. He's been killed in a traffic stop. And she sort of, you know, thinks that Obama is kind of, you know, a sort of symbol of hope.
Yeah, and the answer. So many people didn't they, at the time?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is based on fact. Yes. What do you remember of that time back in 2008 when Obama came? How important was it to you?
Well, I was at drama school at the time. And I remember, you know, I mean, I was quite preoccupied with sort of training, as anyone who's trained would know. So it's very, very all-consuming. Yeah. But I remember it being, you know, it's quite an amazing thing. I mean, something that I don't know if it would ever happen in this country, you know, which is kind of, you know, I think America and their sort of race relations, whilst it's been, you know, whilst they've had sort of much more to get over, they've also had kind of, you know, I feel like they've come potentially further than we have in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, that was just such a momentous moment, not just for America, but for us, as you've just been saying. Indeed. Let's just hear a little extract now of that speech that President Obama made, the new President Obama. Great. Here it is.
America, I believe we can build on the progress we've made and continue to fight for new jobs and new opportunity and new security for the middle class. I believe we can keep the promise of our founding, the idea that if you're willing to work hard, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from or what you look like or where you love. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white or Hispanic or Asian or Native American or young or old or rich or poor, able, disabled, gay, or straight. You can make it here in America if you're willing to try.
So there we have it, that moment that so many of us remember, President Obama's acceptance speech back in 2008. So, of course, this play is about a moment in history, but it's also about the process of self-discovery of some of the characters in it. Yeah. Edward, in particular, who's the main character. Tell me about what he's going through. Yeah,
I mean, well, Warren is... he, as I said, you know, college-educated, black New Yorker. You know, I think his family quite privileged, but he's gay, and his family don't accept that. He's also Buddhist, and his family are very, very strongly Christian. So essentially, you know, a lot of it is about find out throughout the play that he hasn't really spoken to his parents in a really long time. And I think the thing that kind of unites him and Cece is kind of a fear of you know, kind of putting yourself out there and doing something that you might fail at. And, you know, sort of, you know, that kind of fear of not being able to do something, and if you've put your whole self into it, then, you know, there's nothing to hide behind.
What first attracted you to being in this play?
Well, actually, reading the character of Cece, I thought that, you know, her journey and the way Aurin, the writer, has sort of portrayed her it's so beautiful. She's so heartbreaking, but, you know, really a really interesting character, you know, lacking in sort of intellectual intelligence. You know, she doesn't have any education. She's essentially occupationally illiterate. But yet she's so able to kind of... She's the most successful volunteer that Warren has, and she manages to connect with a lot of people in the community and get them out and get them to vote for Obama, which, you know, is a real thing for her, because she's always felt like she's not worth anything and that she wants to make her sons proud of her. And I just thought that kind of, it's just that sort of realness of a character that, you know, has been sort of downtrodden for so long, and, you know, how Obama actually is a real symbol of hope for her, and how she, you know, manages to sort of, you know, change her life, really, because of how the campaign and working on it has made her feel.
Now, you're obviously a very sort of English-sounding Rose. What kind of research and how do you prepare to play the part of someone from this lower social group from East Cleveland?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a great session with a couple of with an accent coach, which has been great fun. Sort of working on the kind of typical sort of EEA accents, which, yeah, I mean, you know, it's I think something that I've probably been familiar with throughout my childhood.
Yeah.
You know, sort of watching various.
Can you do a bit of Cece for us now? Do a bit of a line from the play?
Yeah, what does she say? She kind of talks like, she's sort of like that. It's sort of, that's a little bit more New York.
I suppose you need to get into character. And,
yeah, I think her voice is kind of, she's sort of a little... She's not very confident, so she kind of talks a bit like that.
Right.
But that's again slightly more New York.
Okay. Talk to me about the Finsborough Theatre, which is where you're performing this, because it's an interesting space, or actually lack of space, I should say. It's tiny, isn't it?
It is very small. Yeah. It's in fact only 50 seats.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a really lovely, intimate space to play on. Yeah, and. Yeah, I mean, it's lovely. It's one of the sort of more successful and acclaimed West End, off-West End theatres in the UK. And they produce some fantastic work there, some really, really interesting new writing and plays that haven't been performed for sort of quite a long time.
I think a lot of awards have been won, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, yeah. And a lot of stuff sort of, you know, transfers onto bigger theatres for longer runs and stuff like that. But yeah, it is a really beautiful space. You really do feel like you're in it. You know, like the audience aren't very far away from you, and you know they really kind of go on the journey with you, which is lovely to play on for an actress.
Well, let's see you in rehearsals now. We've got some footage of you and your fellow cast members.
Great.
So talk to us about who we're seeing here.
Well, this is the full cast, actually. It's a very small cast. That's Ed there, who plays Warren, and Catherine, who plays sort of a couple of different characters in that. That's the scene in which I'm playing Kate's with Edward there, who we get stopped in a traffic stop, which is quite, you know, it's quite a contentious situation for her. Obviously, as her brother's been killed in a traffic stop previously. That's Peter Caulfield, who plays lots of different characters. Again, yeah, that's the scene with Warren and Kate's, which is quite, you know, a gun gets pulled on her by a policeman, and you know, it's sort of quite high stakes.
And what sort of backgrounds? You know, there are a range of you there. You were saying that you were actually still training when Obama actually became president. But what sort of range of backgrounds have the cast got?
Well, I think everyone's sort of, you know, drama school trained. A lot of the cast, you know, have been out a little bit longer than I have, so you know, sort of done lots of different work. You know, sort of West End TV. You know, also, you know, stuff with like community work and TIE stuff as well. So yeah, we've got a real nice mix actually.
Yeah.
Everyone's lovely as well.
Okay, and an enjoyable process?
Yeah,
the actual rehearsal process?
It's been brilliant actually, yeah. Director Tomo has been lovely, and also our assistant director Emerald as well has been great. But yeah, it's a really nice group to work with, and great play.
Now, it's obviously it's been performed in the US. This is the European premiere. How are you hoping that audiences will react?
Well, I hope that they, I hope that they get how, momentous Obama being elected in America was, because, I mean, sort of reading some of his speeches and, like really kind of getting into what he actually meant for the American people. I mean, obviously, he's a figurehead for the world now, but, I really hope they sort of get that and sort of get how the story kind of transfers.
OK, well, 50 people a night will get the opportunity to see it, and it's showing at the Finsborough Theatre in London from the 30th of November up until the 16th of December. Pearl Mackie, good luck with it, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.